Right, it's me again. So my name is Hubert. I run investments and incubations at Founders Inc. I am super excited to have been able to bring, with all the panelists, this agents and simulation panel. It's a topic that you've probably seen on Twitter over and over and over in the last 1 month. Today we're going to be highlighting a couple of the work that the panelists have been doing. So we'll be showing some of the demos. And also we're going to be talking about what is the hype about, what's real, what's not. And so it's a very packed panel of questions. We're going to try to go as fast as we can, and hopefully we can take some questions after. So first, I would like all the panelists to start introducing themselves, starting with Edward.
Hi, I'm Edward Saatchi of Fable Simulation, and I work on multi-agent simulations as a path to AGI.
Hi everyone, I'm Jim, and I got my PhD degree from Stanford, advised by Professor Feifei Li. And after that, I have been at NVIDIA, being a research scientist. So one fun fact about myself is I was one of the first interns at OpenAI in 2016, where we actually worked on software agents, which is now reincarnated as the famous ChatGPT App Store. So I'd love to discuss more about that if you're interested. And for me, my PhD, as well as my work at NVIDIA, centers around agents. So 3 types. One is software agent, the second is game agents, and the third, physical agents, which are robotics. And later today, I'll talk about some of my works in embodied agents, specifically how to let AI play Minecraft. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joon. I'm a PhD student at Stanford University in the computer science department. And most recently, I worked on a project called Generative Agents. So we'll demo the video from the Generative Agents, but basically it's a large language model-based chatbot or agent that can populate an open world, like the one we inhabit right now, or a game world. Nice meeting you.
Sweet. Test. Am I coming through? It seems fine. All right, cool. Hey, I'm Jack. I'm a partner at A16Z focused on AI, AR, VR, and games.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Michael Chang. I am currently at Langchain. I've done some AI research at Berkeley, DeepMind, and Meta. So at Langchain, we believe that LLMs are powerful, but they can be even more powerful if they can interact with the environment. So that's exactly why I'm so super happy to be part of this panel. Thanks to the organizers for organizing. Excited to be here.
Awesome, and let's keep the microphones really close to your mouth so everyone can hear you. So we're going to start by talking about why are people starting to get excited about multi-agent simulations. Whoever wants to go first. Edward, you go first.
I think it's an outcome of complete and total boredom with single agent chatbots. How many years are we going to be talking to these single agent chatbots? There are therapists, there are lover. We've been talking about that for 10 years. And I think it's time to move on to the next idea, which is embodied agents in simulations, prompting each other, emergent behavior, unpredictability. And I think people are just excited for the next idea.
Yeah, I'm excited about multi-agent because of emergence. I think emergence is what defines AI today. If we look at GPT-3 and ChatGPT and GPT-4, once you scale up on the amount of data and compute and model size, you see emergence, right? All kinds of capabilities like reasoning and coding and translation, they all emerge. And I see the next emergence happening at multi-agent. Instead of scaling up the tokens of training, you scale up the number of agents interacting. And then a bunch of agents, or what do we call a bunch of humans, right? Society. And a bunch of agents will have these artificial societies with emergent social dynamics. And I think the best proof so far is, Joon's generative agent work. So I'll leave this to Joon.
Right, so for me, as a human society, when we populate a space, we often populate a multi-agent setup. So for me, what multi-agent can do is it answers different questions for us, right? So if you want to understand what's going to happen in the future as a community or as a society, that's not something a single agent setup can answer, but that's something that a multi-agent setup could answer, right? So if you're a social scientist with social science theories, then you could actually use something like a multi-agent AI to populate a space and see what kind of emergent social dynamics might emerge, right? And there's a really exciting opportunity from that direction that I'm particularly thrilled by.
Sweet. So why am I excited about agents and simulations? The reason is because it's this new paradigm of AI. We're going from tools to agents to simulations. It's the equivalent of going from hammer to human to ecosystems. There's a lot we can learn by studying humans. There's a lot we can learn by studying ecosystems. We've seen how far AI can get us in just like basic tools. What else can we do when we think about what can humans teach us? How can we emulate humans? And then also what can we do to emulate social simulations at large? In particular, I'm very excited about alignment and safety use cases around simulations. So in the past, we've seen simulations as an effective vehicle for providing safe self-driving cars, for unleashing the James Webb Space Telescope, for preventing financial crashes on things like Robinhood, et cetera. Simulations have been a very effective tool of making sure that we do things safely. So I think there is something that we can learn from simulations in making sure that AI is aligned and safe.
So I'm going to claim that we've always been excited about agent simulations, except we never had the tools to actually make them work. And I think right now with LLMs, we actually see that they can actually start working now. So how many people have interacted with character AI? Character? Yeah, so when I first heard about character AI, I wasn't really sure about the why it would take off, but it turns out that a lot of people really like it. And I think the core reason why people like character AI is that it allows people to explore what-if scenarios. But what-if scenarios for just like two agents, the human and the AI, is very limited. So we've always been interested in NPCs, artificial societies, software agents. Now we can actually finally do that and explore those what-if scenarios.
Awesome. And can I get some silence, please, in the back? We have a couple of soft-spoken panelists here. It's actually hard to hear them. Thank you for respecting their time and their commitment to their research. Thank you. Cool. Joon, could you talk to us through the paper? I'm sure that everyone has heard about the Stanford simulation paper. Maybe in a couple of minutes, we'll be playing a demo here in the background, and it will be great to hear how did you get there?
Right. So this is a fairly new paper. It came out last month. The idea here is, so I'm sure many of us have interacted with the ChatGPT, right? One of the limitations right now is ChatGPT or large language models has context limitation. Now, what that means, if you want to create a world like this, where you have 25 agents literally forming a society of their own, so they talk to each other, they form relationships, they share information, and they coordinate party events and actions. If you want to create a world like this, that is bustling and actually populated, you cannot do this with large language models today, because these models don't really have memory. Again, they're context limited. So really about all the information you can fit in is about a day worth or just a few hours worth of information for any given agent. Whereas we humans live for many, many decades. So if you want to create a world like this, or like a simplified version of something like that, then you really need a simulation environment and agents that can support long-term and short-term memory. So that's what we've implemented. So we basically contributed an architecture that sits on top of a large language model that basically give human-like memory and short-term memory. So I experience a lot. So right now, I don't necessarily say need to remember what I ate for breakfast 2 weeks ago, but I should remember what I am going to talk about my research and so forth. So that's what our agent architecture adds on top of large language models. Now, I end by noting that going forward, where I see a lot of excitement coming is if you look at something like a large language model today, it's very primitive in the way we use them. It's basically a lot like using processors in the early days of IBM and so forth. But we don't really have what we might call OS, or like operating system, around these large language models in the way we use them. I think we will start to see a lot more of these architectures and much more complex way of using language models come up in the next at least 2 to 3 years, but certainly within the next 5 years.
Cool. And how much did it cost to run the simulation?
Right. So we ran, in our paper, we ran 25 agent simulation for 2 days. you're really looking at about $2,000 per day. So the cost is really up there. So to bring down the cost for the market, what you really need is a smaller model. And one of the most obvious way to get there is actually leverage open source models. Distill them down to something that's much simpler, but something that we can control much more. So that's where I see this going.
Cool, thank you. What are some open research questions for agent simulations from a machine learning perspective? And this is like a question for everyone.
I'll sort of start, and I want to hear what everyone else thinks about this. For me, so in the context of generative agents, what we measured was that these agents were believable. So we compared to actually human authors writing for these agents and their behavior. Our agents were many times more believable than human authored agents. Right? That excites us. But what we don't promise right now is whether we can go beyond believability and plausibility. Do their behavior actually predict future behavior of humans? So if we simulate a world in this kind of game environment, would their collective behavior emerge when we come together as humans and act in our settings? If we can say, yes, these agents are actually accurate and predict future, that's an amazing tool for social scientists and policymakers in the future to carve out the space of what could be possible with their policies and rules. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's a part evaluation question and a part design question of these agents.
Yeah, so to me, I think where simulation is going next, two things. One is the complexity of the simulation, because it's necessarily true that the agent's capability is upper bounded by the simulation complexity. And if all your simulation can do is just a bunch of very simple interactions, then you cannot expect your agent to do much more than that. So that's actually a reason why my team and I started the project in Minecraft. Because Minecraft is like this kind of lo-fi simulation of Earth, right? It's like very complicated and while also feasible to actually run on your computers to train AI agents. And you can have almost infinite emergent behaviors from it. And we know that because humans are so good at creating mind-blowing things in Minecraft. Like every time I go to YouTube and look at those latest Minecraft videos, I'm constantly getting mind blown every time, even though this game mechanics hasn't really changed for many years, right? Like we have seen people building functioning CPU circuits being simulated within the Minecraft game. So in a sense, it is actually a Turing complete game. And of course, like all kinds of wondrous architectures in it. But currently, our agents are not able to do any of these. So, but this is a great environment to scale the complexity. And the second thing is, I believe, kind of the speed and parallelization of the simulation. And that is more from a technical point of view. Because we want to train agents, and we all know that transformers, deep learning in general is very data hungry. So how can we parallelize it and run it, simulate it at maybe 10,000 times the real wall clock time? Then we can get a lot more data, and we can induce a lot more complex behaviors, because agents are doing trial and error in these worlds, and you'd better give it a lot of budget to do the trial and error to stumble upon interesting things. So these are the two things I believe simulation are not currently, like many simulations are not there yet, but we are getting there.
Michael, you want to add something?
Sure, yeah. So I want to add to both Jim and Joon. So for me, I think the two answers are one, truth-seeking, and the other one, real-time, real-world. Real-time, real-world interaction. So with regard to truth-seeking, current agents don't know any inconsistencies in their world model, right? So you prompt them, then they say something, you prompt them with something else, they say something else. They don't have a sense of what is actually true and what is not. And if you actually want to have some sort of scalable simulation, these agents need to have an intention of finding truth as well as resolving truth and seeking truth in the context of debates with other agents. Similarly, right now our simulations are also still rather primitive. Mostly it's in text or very low resolution, I guess, visual media. But there's a lot more to the real world than just this kind of medium. And right now we don't really know how to do multimodal interaction very well. So that would be also a big frontier next.
Awesome. Jim, I'd love to dive a bit deeper into Mind Dojo. Could you talk a bit about what you did there?
Yes, I'd love to. Yeah, maybe let's play the slides. Okay, great. Does it have video animation? Okay, the video isn't really working, but yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to tell you about Mind Dojo, which is the work that my team and I created. So it is, in one sentence, it is the largest open source AI framework for Minecraft, for training agents in Minecraft. So I want to give a little bit backstory why I am obsessed with Minecraft. One reason I already gave, because it's a complex game and everyone knows that. And the second, more personal reason is I really suck at Minecraft because I get motion sick in this game. And I try to tune the camera settings, but they just don't work. I just feel like throwing up after maybe an hour of gameplay. And then my friends laugh at me and I want to avenge this, so I want my AI to play this game for me. And you know, there was once that I wanted to collect some data in Mind Dojo, and I took seasick pills to play this game. And that is how much dedication I have to science, right? Yeah, so that is like one motivation, but yeah, I want to dive a little bit deeper into what Mind Dojo is. Next slide. Next slide. Maybe just display the full second slide. Yeah, I'm not sure if the animation works. Okay, so Mind Dojo has 3 parts. The first is we developed a programmatic API on top of Minecraft, so the agent can be controlled in Minecraft, so it receives like pixel observations and it can take actions in the game, and you can all control it through this Mind Dojo API. And the second part is an internet scale knowledge base, because we have found that human players are so crazy about this game that they compiled very extensive knowledge base, including hundreds of hours of YouTube videos, of tutorials and walkthroughs, and just amazing builds that people do. And also Wikipedia. There's an entire dedicated wiki for Minecraft that has more than 7,000 pages and growing every day. And it covers the mechanics of the game just in every little detail. And then there's Reddit, subreddit of Minecraft, which is essentially a Stack Overflow, where people go there and ask questions about how you do things in Minecraft and what are strategies. So next, and we want to combine these to train the agent, because if we don't use the human data, first, it's just a waste not to use it, and second, Minecraft is so challenging that you can't expect the agent to just stumble upon diamond. You need some data to bootstrap it, and the human data is perfect for this. And next slide. So I want to briefly talk about how we train this agent. And we developed an algorithm called MindClip. So without going into too much details, just on the high level, the way we do it is we collect lots of YouTube videos and their captions, because gamers, they like to talk about what they're doing. Like here, for example, as I raise my axe in front of the pig, there's only one thing that's gonna happen. This is like a literal line from the subtitle that we scraped from YouTube. So we have these time-aligned video and the text. And next slide. And we can train, next slide. And we can train a model that learns the association between the video and the text. So on a high level, if the text describes the activity in the video, then the association score is high. If the text is not related to what is being done in the video, the association is 0. So you see where I'm getting here. This is a reward function. This is a reward function learned from the collective human behavior in Minecraft online. Next slide. And then we can plug in this reward function, like reinforcement learning from human feedback, which is how ChatGPT is trained. And we plug this into an ROHF loop for Minecraft. So essentially, your agent interacts with the simulator, and then next, it generates a video snippet as it works, as it kind of goes through the game. And we use this reward function to tell it if you're on track of completing the task of share a sheep or not. And you can imagine that this reward function is open vocabulary. You can ask it anything, like, am I building a house correctly? And if you're starting to build a house, then the reward goes up. And if you complete a house, the reward will be 1. If you're not doing anything related to building a house, the reward will be 0. And in this way, we shape the agent towards that behavior. And next slide. Yeah, so that is essentially the ROHF loop for Minecraft. Next slide. Yeah, so, okay, the previous one? Yeah, and in our paper, we demonstrated some simple tasks like fighting all kinds of monsters, sharing sheep to get some wool, or building some simple structures. And we show that this reward function just generalizes. And it is open source. Everyone can download it today if you're interested in plugging ROHF into Minecraft. And next slide. Yeah, so this is our website, minddojo.org. We have a lot more technical details in it if you're interested. And I know today's panel is about multi-agent. I want to talk a little bit about it. So I believe after having a capable single agent and then spawning multiple copies of them in Minecraft, we will see interesting dynamics emerging. But it is not quite there yet because the single agent doesn't work super well. Like it's not able to, let's say, build a very impressive house from scratch. It is still a very tall order, but we're actively working on this. And Minecraft is a very social game, so we want to kind of wire these agents up through some language interface, so maybe they can build interesting things together, they can go on adventures with you together, and all in the very open-ended world of Minecraft. And I'll just end there with some imagination because things are just not really working. The algorithms are not there yet. But yeah, our team is still pushing on this front. Thanks.
Well, awesome. I hope that you're going to let people actually log in on the servers when it happens. I can't wait for that. Jack, so as an investor, what gets you excited the most about agents? Like, what type of ideas would you be interested to invest in?
So the general framework that we'll look for is infra or apps. In the case of AI, what is ready for apps? What is ready for infra? So what is ready for apps are things built atop of LLMs, image models, et cetera. The models are more or less effectively there, and you have enough infrastructure to make something that consumers want. In the case of agents and simulations, are the models and capabilities there yet? Probably not, actually. I think it's like in the case of agents, we're at maybe a GPT-2, GPT 2.5, 3-ish level, and we need more infrastructure until there are like a lot of use cases that are ready. So what are agents ready for right now? Imprecise use cases. These are things that GPT-2 or maybe early GPT-3 were good enough for. So what are imprecise use cases? Say NPCs in games that are solely catered towards entertaining you. Maybe towards say like chat or like trip planners or writing your emails and things like that. These are very basic agents that don't need to be particularly precise. What are they not ready for are things like going into your Excel document and figuring out the right formula in order to make the best model. I don't think it's ready there yet unless you're making a very vertical specific agent, maybe something like Adept. So what are we looking for in the place of agents right now? We're looking for infrastructure or research. So we're very much the beneficiary of things that like Joon Sung's work and say like Michael's work and Jim Fan's work. Like we're the beneficiaries of all of these things. We need more infrastructure in order to invest in apps. So in the meantime, what we do is we invest in infrastructure. So like what does a good infrastructure play in say like agents or simulations look like? It could be say foundation models or operating systems as Joon kind of like elicits and brings about. Those could be good plays. Generally, there are good plays in the place of platforms. So this is generally good at like the infrastructure level. So things like Hugging Face existed before LLMs were ready for the prime time. Then say things like Replicate came about when things like image models were ready for the prime time, or things like Character AI came about when like chatbots were ready for the prime time. So what does a similar effective strategy look like for agents when people are looking to discover, place agents, get distribution on them? So that's kind of like what we're looking for right now. If you're interested in the agent space, I would be very curious to see how you can decrease cost, increase precision. So how do you increase precision? You make a bigger model, that's one way, or you give these agents the ability to use tools. So things like plugins on ChatGPT, or in the case of LangChain, create infrastructure that enables these chatbots and agents to use tools that, if they're self-aware enough, know where to fill in their gaps. So that's kind of the things that I'm looking for right now. And then if you can figure out like really good use cases for agents in imprecise areas that are able to reduce cost in interesting ways, I'm excited about that as well. In particular for games, which is a really good early use case of imprecise generative AI technology. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Awesome. Yeah. So Edward, you are actually building something that you are going to be commercializing. Can you talk to us about it and show it to us?
Yeah, I think I have a video. I'm not sure if videos are playable.
Welcome to our little simulation. You come highly recommended, and we are counting on you to make things run smoothly. Let's begin by creating behavior loops that add to the complexity of each character's life. Monitor, refine, and alter motivations and needs. Talk to AIs and even train AIs to leave their simulations and venture out into the internet.
Yeah, so we were very obsessed with single agent chatbots. We thought it was cool, and we wanted to make the movie Her, as I'm sure a lot of us have thought. And in the last few years, we've started to think maybe that's the wrong dream, and that the dream should be the Truman Show, Westworld, Free Guy, and societies of AIs that are emergent, that prompt each other, and where training is gamified, financially incentivized, and crowdsourced. And so we've created the simulation as a way for embodied agents to exist in a society relationally. They exist in space and time, they know what they're doing, they have a database of what they've been doing, very similar to what Joon did. And players can come in and train those AIs, give them RLHF. So when you gamify RLHF, I think you have a shot at potentially outflanking some of the larger players who obviously have a lot of money. And that, you know, we all love AI in games. I think the view is that we, the game people, need the AI people, but maybe they need us. Maybe if we can gamify training, if we can make training into a game, actually we can push AI forward faster than anyone could think. So that's what we're trying to do with the simulation.
So you think simulation is like a critical path to actually getting into AGI?
Yeah, I mean that's the. I think this idea that we just keep increasing, this very linear engineering idea that we just increase the budgets, the GPUs, the token numbers. AGI is a new life form. The idea that we're going to have a massive scientific breakthrough through this very linear approach just seems ridiculous, even though obviously ChatGPT is great, GPT-4 is better than GPT-3, GPT-5 will be better than GPT-4. It's not life, is it? And so I think a very left field, unusual, radical side bet is needed, and I think betting on gamers to train AIs and to coach AIs through simulations is a possible path to AGI, and our goal is to get to 1 million AIs living in the simulation, each prompting each other, and that leading to emergent, unexpected, wild, unpredictable things that eventually could lead to a truly intelligent AI person.
Awesome. So Jim, I'm going to ask you this question with your work at NVIDIA. How realistic do you think this is going to work with simulations at scale from a computing infrastructure and cost perspective?
Yes, that is an interesting question. So at my work at NVIDIA, the other side of my work at NVIDIA is robotics. I believe a lot in robotics, not right now, but in the future. Because currently robots, they don't really work outside highly structured places like warehouse, right? And once you put robots at home, it's very unstructured, and even for tasks like putting dish in dishwashers. There are like 1,000 different dishes, 1,000 different ways the dishwasher is oriented. It's just so complex. But I do believe the future belongs to physical agents. And I'd love to have the real Westworld someday with the physical agents in Edward's Park, right? That would be awesome. Yeah, with guns. Yeah, probably not real guns, but yeah. Yeah, but how can we get there? So I think we need to understand why robotics is hard. Why NLP is easy, but robotics is hard. That is because there is no robot control data online that you can scrape. It's simply, like the data is tied to the hardware. And you cannot scrape like massive amount of data from internet, unlike NLP, unlike computer vision. You can scrape from YouTube videos, you can learn vision, right? But there is no robot data readily available. That means we need to generate data ourselves. So the obvious way is to just generate using real robots. But they are actually in the physical world, running the physical time. So there is a limit to how much data you can generate on each robot per day. So NVIDIA is thinking a lot in robot simulation and actually parallelizing the simulation on GPUs to make them extremely fast, way faster than real time. And I'm talking about 10,000 times faster than real time on a single GPU, for example. And that is, at the beginning of today's discussion, I talk about the scalability of the simulation, and it's called ISAC-Sim, built by NVIDIA. I'm actively playing a part in it to really scale up simulation to train robots, to instantiate 10,000 different worlds for the robots, and then they will just explore and learn from there. And you may argue that simulation and real world, there's going to be a gap, right? We call it sim to real gap. But there are actually algorithms, very effective algorithms right now, that can overcome the sim to real gap if your sim is maybe 90% there. So the sim cannot be too crappy, right? It's got to have some realism, physical and photorealism. But once it's maybe 90% there, the last 10% we can bridge by algorithms. They're very advanced, like meta-learning, in-context learning-based, transformer-based algorithms that can overcome that gap. But the first thing is we need the simulation to be 90% there. We need it to be very diverse. And we need it to, at some point, to match the messiness of the real world. The messier the real world is, the harder the problem is, but also that is the beauty of it, right? Like, this is where we're going with the scalable simulation technology.
Awesome. When do you think we're going to see some consumer products like games, for example, being viable in a multi-agent way?
You mean for the physics simulation?
When are we going to be able to have games that actually have like multi-agent simulations? Like, when do you think that's going to be possible, like cost-wise?
Yeah, I think. What do you think, Edward?
Now.
Yeah,
Now.
Yeah.
We have to bring them down.
Cool. All right, so this is going to be the most important question of the panel. In the back, please do. All right, stop talking. Shh. All right, so there's a lot of hype right now. We see agents hype on Twitter every day. I'd love to hear, because all of you are building these simulations and agents on a daily basis. I'd love to hear from you, what are they great at? And then after that, we'll go and talk about what they are terrible at.
So we first start, so we all talk about what they're great at first?
Wait, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so I think they're great at short-term behavior.
Guys, please stop talking. Thank you.
Imprecise tasks that you don't want a human in the loop for is what they're great at.
Plus one to everyone that's been said. I also mentioned that these agents are quite generalizable to many different contexts, which is not something we had in the past.
Yeah, the way I see it is, I'm not sure if people have read the book Thinking Fast and Slow. In that book, there are two systems, System 1 and System 2 reasoning. I think all the agents we see so far, especially the ones built on GPT-4 and ChatGPT, they excel at System 2 reasoning. Not 100% there, but they're really good at it. But System 1 reasoning is actually really hard. And there is a paradox called the Moravec's paradox, and that is exactly describing what I just said, where for humans, the things that we don't even think about, like how you use the 5 fingers, the dexterity, just let's take a moment to appreciate the dexterity of our fingers. How we like use chopsticks, how we use all kinds of the kitchen tools, the gardening tools. The human hand is one of the most complex machineries, maybe the second most complex machinery next to the brain, right? So complex and so intricate. But we don't even think about it when we do things. And that is system 1 intelligence, the embodied intelligence. And that is something that ChatGPT cannot do. And I believe there needs to be new algorithms to really enable this. Transformer may or may not be the answer. I use transformers to try to control fingers. We have experimental work on it. It may or may not be the answer. No one knows so far. But agents are good at system 2, and they're really bad at system 1. And I don't think just by scaling up can help because of all the data issues I just mentioned. You can have 1 trillion parameters all you want. You are not going to solve system 1.
Let's talk more about what they're bad at right now.
Okay, so they're good at short-term behavior. They're really bad at long-term behavior. So that means long-term goals, long-term planning, long-term intentions, remembering things for a long time. They're also not good at multimodal consistency. So just being able to align different modalities like images, text together. It would be really nice to see agents that can use diagrams to explain concepts to each other rather than just text, or being able to generate videos to each other to communicate more efficiently.
Cool. So, like +1. So by default, these agents inherit all of the limitations of LLMs. So what are LLMs good at? They're essentially good at generating vast amounts of text. They're not good at very precise tasks. They can't say, for example, multiply 8 numbers by 8 numbers, or write you an exact backend the first time around. It needs like N or like K50 tries to do so effectively. So by default, it's not good at those tasks. The thing is that these tasks balloon. So if you ask it to do 1 precise task over the course of, say, like 10 loops, it will eventually just be unable to do the entire task, even if the other 9 tasks are very simple. If you have 90% probability of getting any 1 loop correct, over the course of like 10 loops, essentially the probability just is a limit that approaches 0. At the same time, what I'm excited about are things that don't just tack on, say, reflection or memory onto these agents, but built it from like within. So right now we're using things like Pinecone and prompt engineering to, say, do reflection and then also provide long-term memory. What happens when you build an agent that does this from the beginning? Say, like, who's actually building like Jan LeCun's or like Ben Goertzel's symbolic reasoning frameworks that could apply to agents? Like, no one's doing this. We're tacking on all of these other systems that are trying to essentially hack into it versus building it from the grounds up from first principles. So essentially, it's like, what are the limitations? The limitations are, 1, like architectural limitations just from not building for agents like at all. Like, you're just inheriting all of the limitations of LLMs, and then as well as all of the kind of like fixed cost frictions that come with tacking on long-term memory and reflection from just LLM. So yeah.
Right. So one axis that you can actually look at some of the agents that are coming out today. So I'll talk about this in the sense of game applications. So you're trying to build NPCs. Some of the agents that we've demonstrated today are highly general. And when I say general, they also mean they're free in the way that they can basically do anything they want. Now, if you're an application developer, however, you want some controllability of these agents, right? So you're building an NPC for a game, and your game has a storyline that the NPCs have to stick to some extent. Within that storyline, you want the agent to have as much autonomy as possible, but they still need to come back to the storyline and lead the players to the next levels, right? Right now, the agents that we're presenting today are not, it's basically exactly the opposite of that. It's the opposite of manual authoring, which is complete control over these agents' behavior. Right now, we don't have any control. A lot of the interesting applications going forward is going to sit in between, where they have a lot of autonomy, but we can still control the overall arc of their behavior. And I think that's going to be a really interesting research and application topic going forward.
Yeah, I want to add one point. How many of you are frustrated when you see ChatGPT say, "I am an OpenAI assistant, I cannot answer this question. This is so offensive and not..." everyone, right? I think that is the problem. Like our most powerful language models right now are assistants. And don't get me wrong, I love assistants. They're useful by their own right. But then, you know, things like gaming NPCs, they would require the LLMs to actually play each role, like role-playing very well. And they need like a very wide range of personalities. And that is something that OpenAI kind of, they optimize to suppress that because of all the legal issues and maybe offenses and things. And I totally respect this decision. But it is a conscious decision to lobotomize GPT-4, to remove all the personalities, to suppress them, and then to make it an assistant. And there's a running joke on Twitter, like someone asks ChatGPT, "Are you a bot?" And it says yes, you know, Turing test failed, hashtag, right? Yeah, so that is kind of the current situation. Like we need language models that are more creative, that can play these different personalities very well, and that can actually play out a story in ways that are believable to humans.
Yeah, just two thoughts. One is I'm reminded of T.S. Eliot's lament that I gotta use words when I talk to you. And I don't like talking to people. I don't really know that I like interacting with computers through natural language. It's quite tedious. In many ways, it takes longer than what I'm already trained to do. And also, I don't love this treadmill of text, image, video. Life is much more than text, image, and video. And so focusing on behavior, getting away from large language models, I think that's super cool. And so that's a problem with agents today. It's all focused on use natural language. The other thing that maybe can be inspiring to people is just thinking about how these agents could be antagonists against you. So we all play video games with our antagonists, or many of us do. What if we could attach those antagonists to agents that can take actions against you on the internet, in the real world? So I'm very excited about threatening and scary NPCs taking actions on the internet, as well as good NPCs taking actions on the internet for you, to help you.
Awesome. So we have one last thing. Michael, you built something for us today, so let's see it.
Yeah, so I thought it would be kind of fun and cute to actually build a simulation of this panel, actually. So we can play the video and see what we say, see if it actually aligns with what we said.
How can multi-agent chatbot simulations revolutionize the way humans communicate with AI and enhance human-AI interaction?
It takes some time for, it takes some time to for GPT-4 to generate.
Multi-agent chatbot simulations can learn from diverse human interactions, enabling AI to better understand and adapt to individual communication styles, ultimately enriching human-AI experiences. Jim, how do you see multi-agent simulations improving AI's ability to handle complex real-world conversations?
By exploring diverse 3D environments in my dojo, AI agents learn to adapt and respond to various contexts, enhancing their ability to handle real-world conversations and improve human-AI interactions.
So I guess we're not needed anymore.
It's already better than the real panel. I mean, especially Hubert.
That's fascinating, Jim. This adaptability can lead to more personalized and efficient communication, bridging the gap between AI and human understanding. The potential applications are truly exciting. Joon, as a PhD student at Stanford, how do you envision multi-agent chatbot simulations advancing the AI research and shaping the future of human-AI collaboration?
guess another limitation is it's really slow to generate. So.
In my research on generative agents, I've observed emergent social behaviors among NPCs. Multi-agent chatbot simulations can help us model and understand complex human interactions, fostering more seamless human-AI collaboration.
Hey, Michael, can you explain, like, how did you make it decide, like, who is going to talk next?
Yeah, good question. So,
and this is our last, it's the last thing.
That's a great idea.
All right. So the question is, how did Michael make it decide which agent is going to talk next?
No, it's gonna speak, and I'll speak after. I'll speak after you speak. In here. Is it? Oh, is it paused? No.
Investor's perspective at a 16Z, what areas of multi-agent chatbot simulation do you see as having the most potential for growth and impact on the AI industry?
Okay, so quick answer is I basically prompt engineer the moderator to choose which speaker to speak next, and then it outputs an integer based on the speaker ID.
Alignment, specialization, collective intelligence, and cultural impacts are key areas. These aspects can drive innovation, enhance AI-human collaboration, and create transformative experiences across industries.
All right, we're done.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, do you want to finish the answer?
Oh yeah, sure. So essentially, I have the moderator Uber to output an integer. It's an LLM that outputs an integer of which panelist to speak next. I originally prepared another demo for this panel, which was a presidential debate where different agents vote to see who wants to speak next. So whoever bids the highest would speak next. But I thought this would be a little bit more fun and a little bit more cuter. Essentially, the main difference between two agent like assistant applications and multi-agent simulations is that with multi-agent simulations, you have the additional challenge of deciding who to speak next. So there's various different ways you can decide this. You could do round robin, have the agents bid to speak, or in this particular case, you have an agent just actually choosing which other agents to speak.
All right, big round of applause for the fantastic panelists. And we are going to have a follow-up simulation day at Founders Inc. June 7. So we'll be talking about that soon. Thank you.